Hi, friend. A little housekeeping before we get to the podcast today. I will be transitioning from weekly episodes to bi-weekly episodes. So instead of hearing from me every week, I will be releasing new episodes twice a month. This is important for me for so many reasons, and I know you'll understand. Work, life, building a startup, doing the podcast, parenting, all of it needs time and energy, and I want to be sure to do that well. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really do appreciate you. And now let's get to this episode of the podcast. Hi, friend. Welcome to the Driven Introvert podcast. When I decided to move ahead with Podground, the company I'm currently building, I wanted to move fast. I didn't want to take time to overthink anything so that I wouldn't give up on it. I felt like I knew what the problem was that I was trying to solve with this platform, and I wanted to get right to it. Essentially, I didn't know what I didn't know. I want to talk to you about how and why I finally paused and what a pause like that can do for you and why it's actually beneficial as you think about making big decisions. This is another episode in the decision-making series, and we're walking through the book The Next Right Thing by Emily P. Freeman. Let's get into it. You're listening to the Driven Introvert podcast, the place to be for dreamers, doers, and entrepreneurs who are ready to birth the dreams, callings, and ideas the Lord has placed in their hearts. Do you sense that God is calling you to step out and do something new, but you're held back by fear and uncertainty? Do you struggle with believing that you can do great things because of your quiet, reserved, and introverted nature? Welcome here. I'm Remy Roy, your host and founder of shepacked.com. I'm an author, an entrepreneur, a creative, and a committed trier. I'm here to help you get unstuck and make progress on your God idea. Let's go. Okay, so I've shared before on this podcast that I have a bias toward action. And that's exactly what I was doing here. When I started working on Podground, like for real, I just wanted to keep going. But something changed after a while. And that change is a pause I didn't necessarily want. Something slowed me down. And that something was a conversation with someone whose opinion I really deeply trust. And that is my husband. He had questions about the idea, about the process, the execution, about what was even possible. At first, I brushed it off because I had tunnel vision. This is just me. This is the way I've always operated. I don't think too much about the fringe scenarios a lot of the time. I just jump right in. But finally, I decided to pay attention. I paused, I got quiet, and I asked myself, why am I in such a mad rush? And that's where naming what's beneath the surface was really important for me. In the book, Emily Freeman talks about this. She called it naming the unnamed things. That's the feelings we suppress, the thoughts we don't want to give language to. She says we need to sit with them. We need to let the discomfort rise and listen. What are you running from? What are you running to? Or maybe what are you trying to avoid? And that's what I did. That's what I had to do. I stopped. I sat with the discomfort. I named what I was feeling, and that feeling was fear. I was afraid that if I give space for doubt, I'd give up. That if I paused too long, I'd let go of the dream altogether. So instead of really examining the process and doing my due diligence, I was just barreling through it. So I had to do the work. And that pause actually led me to enroll in a startup validation program. And through that program, I learned the fundamentals I had skipped. Not because I didn't want to do the work, but because I didn't know the process even existed. I'm essentially starting something I've never done before. It's a tech platform. I am not a technical person. So there were so many things I did not know. So that program really helped me. And later, I also enrolled in an accelerator program for women tech founders, and that changed everything for me. It really forced me to examine what I was working on, what was working, what wasn't, to examine my assumptions, my solutions, my approach to even building this thing. It was not easy, I tell you, but it was necessary. Everything in me wanted to keep building. Everything in me wanted to just move forward. But I had to pause. and pay attention to the necessary details. Sometimes we have to do that. Even if you are somebody who is a chronic hesitator. And what I mean by that is you don't like making decisions. Like you want to abdicate that responsibility to everyone else around you. Still, you have to pause and ask why. Why do I find it difficult to just decide on one thing and stick with it? Why am I so indecisive? And there could be anything underneath that question, but only you can find out. It could be fear. It could be guilt. It could be just disappointment in so many things that have happened in the past, the way decisions turned out, and now you are gun shy, afraid to step forward and own your decisions. It could be anything. But the only way to know for sure is to dig deep and name the unnamed things. This process could feel like learning in the dark because you're unsure what you're going to find. Emily writes something really beautiful. If you feel stuck in a hopeless place today, I don't want you to rush to joy. Maybe you need to spend a little time letting the darkness do what the darkness does. Nourish, strengthen, and hold. The darkness can invite us into a mystery, a place where we don't know the answer. And that's powerful. It really is. You don't need to rush the process. You don't have to rush the healing. You don't have to rush the joy, the grief, the clarity, or even the dream. Sometimes what we really need to do is pay attention. And that's what I learned. The journey of becoming often requires us to walk through a hard learning curve. And that's what happened to me. The months where I was doing the validation program, it felt like failure. It felt like being stuck. It felt like I was being held back and I couldn't move. But I had to ask myself, am I rushing into this idea out of fear? And sometimes you need to ask, am I stalling out of fear of failure? Am I scared people will think I don't have what it takes to do this? Naming that fear gives it less power. For me, it gave me the freedom to breathe and to move forward with peace. Because here's the truth, fear is not the whole story. Wherever you are right now, discouraged, uncertain, overwhelmed, that's not the end. It's just part of the journey. And I love this whole new perspective of really thinking about what's going on beneath the surface when we make decisions or when we hesitate to make decisions. And this was a very necessary practice for me as I do this thing that I've never done before. And frankly, everything is new. Talking about it is new. Figuring it out is new. Working with a team to help build this platform is new. And the same might happen to you. When you are being stretched, when life is requiring more of you, you will have to step into spaces, into shoes that maybe you've never occupied before. And that can bring up a whole new set of feelings. Imposter syndrome is one of them, where you feel, am I even caught out for this? And that might lead you to either make certain decisions fast or hesitate and stall because you're afraid of what the outcome may be. But only you can know for sure what is beneath the surface of the decisions you're making or not making. Only you can know for sure. And the best way is to just pay attention, to pause, pay attention, and figure out what is going on beneath the surface. Emily ends this chapter with a practice she calls Name the Narrative. She writes, and I quote, "Here are questions that could help the unnamed realities rise up to the surface today. Is there a hurt you haven't quite let go? A regret that's been following you for so long you think it's normal? An excitement you haven't given yourself permission to explore? A dream that might be hanging out in the wings, kicking at rocks or standing on tiptoes? Did one of your children just start kindergarten or go off to college? Did you or your spouse start a new job? Is there someone in your family with a recent diagnosis? Is a friend celebrating a success you wish was yours? Whatever your plot points are, name them for what they are. Disappointment, grief, fear, excitement, envy, desire, exhaustion, or hope. Be willing to listen even if you're afraid you won't like what you hear. Be assured you will never be listening alone. Remember not to force definitions, but to carry those names into the presence of Jesus, in whose name we find our hope." I love this I love that she talks about the fact that even though you may not like what you hear, you may not like what you find when you dig deep, it's still important to take that step. I didn't know what I was going to find going on that validation program. What if I did all the work and I realized, oh, this idea is a bust. It's not going to work. It doesn't make sense. There is no basis for it. What if I find out, it's a bad idea and I shouldn't pursue it? Thankfully, that's not what I sort of found out through the validation process. And this wasn't just me. I had other people to kind of give me their opinion who were more seasoned than I was, but I had to go through that process. And if the answer came back to me like, okay, this is not a good idea, I would have had to be okay with that decision too. But thankfully, it did not. So I'm moving forward. So I just wanted to encourage you, think about this. What things do you need to define? What feelings or emotions are beneath the surface for you? Carry them into the presence of Jesus. That's where clarity and peace can meet you. So wherever you are today, if you're in a season of pausing, if you're scared to slow down, or if you're worried that your idea might fall apart if you look too closely, please hear this. That pause might just be the gift. That discomfort might hold the clarity you've been looking for. You are not alone in it. Let the Lord speak to you in the silence. Let him give you peace and then take your next right step. All right. Are you navigating a hard decision right now? What unnamed thing do you need to call out today? Is it fear, doubt, discouragement, guilt? Whatever it is, please know you can talk to me. I would love to hear from you. Send me an email at thedrivenintrovert@shepark.com. Thanks for listening to this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this conversation, please take a moment to follow or subscribe to the podcast. I'd also love your feedback on this episode. You can scroll down on your app and click write a review. I'd love to read your takeaways from this conversation. As always, don't forget to take courage, trust God, and go pursue your big ideas. See you next time. The Driven Introvert is produced by shepark.com and Remy Roy. Want to ask a question or share a comment on a future episode? Click on the link in the show notes to record your question in a voicemail.